Welcome to Rastafari Roots Festival 2018. And for those of you who have come for the first time, welcome to this, the longest standing festival of this nature since the passage of new legislations on Ganja. I want to start by acknowledging that fact. This is the fourth renewal of this agenda. I want to acknowledge the ones who have maintained it for the last 4 years, kept it going. Rasaya V, the team leader, but we know that it's not one person's effort that something of this nature represents. Workshops have been an important part of this festival from its very inception. And the idea is that we are very well capable of giving ones the kind of public education and technological understanding. We who have held the sacrament for so long believe that we can help to shape the way the world receives this, which is not a drug for us, but indeed a very sacred plant, one that some people describe as a sacrament, or incense, or, you know what I mean, food for the gods. So Rasaya V, as the key brainchild, has insisted that we meet like this to have serious discussions while you enjoy an atmosphere which is considered a festival, things on display, etc. I'm happy to once more be a part of this kind of agenda, and I'd love to see in the future, Rasaya V, that we give people certifications for attending your workshops and seminars, because in the absence of any other such certifying agenda, the people who come away from these do indeed grow in their understanding in leaps and bounds, and we should be able to give them some evidence of that. So I'm strongly encouraging a participant certificate to say that they went through 2 or 3 days at Rastafari Roots in Ainity Festival, and they were taken through a series of discussions on the range of topics that affect the industry. I'm not going to talk too long because we have, as you know, started a little late, and there are a number of very important persons here to share their expertise with us. I'm going to introduce them one by one and have them come up as I introduce them. We're not following our strict agenda as it is stated, so we're working with those who are here, and they will indicate to you their range of topics. All right, so we're going to start off this afternoon with Dr. Andre Gordon, who is the former CEO of the Cannabis Licensing Authority. He's the one that more or less set the framework that still is in place. He's a scientist and a businessman. Former chairman, thank you, Rasaya V. Former chairman of the CLA. He's a scientist and a businessman, and I'm not going to spend too much time telling you about what he knows better. But just to invite him, we know and understand his passion in this industry. I don't think he's a herb smoker. But I don't know if he wishes to have us know that. But I know that he has been very clear from the very start as to the kinds of approaches that we need to understand. So I want him to come and share with us what I think is the longest presentation. He's been given the floor because he has a regional overview as well. So we want to ask you to welcome Dr. Andre Gordon to address us this evening.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and I thank Rastafari RootzFest for inviting me to share some thoughts with you today. I'll sit down beside Jelani if you don't mind. So the topic that I want to just discuss with you is called Tangible Opportunities for the Ganja Industry in Jamaica, Practical and Other Considerations. I will try not to be too long, although I was told I have half an hour. I'll try to talk for about 15 minutes and then open it up for questions if you wish. As the founding chair of the Cannabis Licensing Authority, one of the things that we sought to do at the time was make sure that we would structure an industry that was respectful of the persons that created the opportunity for it to exist, and also offer opportunities for all Jamaicans. And although I won't go into all of the details, that is why the regulations that have come out and the structure of the industry requires that Jamaicans must have majority ownership of any business that is registered within the cannabis space. That was a specific requirement that got a lot of pushback, but we insisted on it. Rasta V was very instrumental in that, as well as Prophet Greg from the Rastafari Millennium Council and others. What we have tried to create is initially a medicinal, an industry focused on medicinal benefits of the herb, and what we wanted to have was an industry that had structure, integrity, and balance, that brought tangible benefits to Jamaica and Jamaicans in general, and in particular to the persons who were traditionally involved, that is the traditional growing regions, communities, and critically Rastafari, who created this opportunity because of their beliefs and their lifestyle that brought this fantastic herb to the attention of the world. So this was what, I'm just summarizing what we wanted to see happen. I want to step back and share with you what is happening now, because those of you who are involved know that this is one of the fastest moving segments of the global economy right now. So I'm sure you're aware that Canada not only decriminalized, actually you could use cannabis-derived products from when I was studying in Canada in the late 1980s. I'm trying to remember. Come on. Yeah. But from October, Canadians can travel with up to 30 grams of ganja. Now, for those of you who probably don't think about it, much of the entire security apparatus through all of these airports, besides terrorism, is set up to prevent people moving drugs. So when Canada has made that move as of October 17th, it's a revolutionary change. I think they're still the only country to allow that. And this is not just CBD-derived products. This is ganja, right? From November, doctors in Northern Ireland have been able to prescribe cannabis. And as many of you know, the US is on the verge of opening up the federal system to support the legal cultivation and sale of hemp and hemp products, including CBD, cannabidiol. All of these, but especially the last development, that is the legalization of hemp across the US, will dramatically change the nature and trajectory of the global space in this industry, and for Jamaica, forever. As we speak, many countries are decriminalizing and legalizing at a rapid pace. In Africa, in Europe, just all over, Australia, everybody is moving. And these countries are both grower and user. And many of the user countries are opening up. But critically, these countries are not just changing their legislation, they are putting in place the infrastructure to support the emerging industries. If we don't stay stuck in Jamaica and get our strategy right, having created this global opportunity, having been the poster child of the industry, Jamaica will be left in the margins of this global industry. This opportunity for real economic empowerment and growth and economic emancipation for the most marginalized and persecuted in our country will be lost again. If we look at the current situation, so despite the effort of many of the players on the ground in the cannabis community, many of you who have been involved, the CLA, Cannabis Licensing Authority, Ministry of Health, Bureau of Standards, and others, we haven't made much progress in developing the industry in the manner that was intended. We have product on the market being imported from all over the world with no labels, improper labeling, no declaration of content, no percentage active ingredient, no verification that what has been declared, if there is labeling, is accurate, no verification that these were produced in an environment that was at least GMP compliant. Despite the fact that we have excellent laboratories, such as Dr. Grizzle's facility, and you will hear from her, we are not yet at the stage where we have a single accredited laboratory, nor is there a requirement for this. As a country, despite again the best efforts of many of our technical personnel in the regulatory apparatus, many of them are not yet sufficiently knowledgeable of what is needed, whether technically, analytically, as far as treatments are concerned and so on. And I hope, Ellen, you'll get a chance to talk a little bit about this, because it's really important, and UTech is doing a fantastic job with offering, as Rastafari RootzFest is, offering opportunities for people to educate themselves. So as a country, we are not prepared. And this is 2.5 years, certainly since I demitted office as chair. This is the first time I'm speaking about this publicly, because I sort of stepped back and tried to give the persons who had the reins and the industry space to develop. This is the first time I'm speaking locally, but I've been engaged with the development of the industry in St. Kitts, and I've had some discussions with the responsible minister in St. Vincent, which is the only other major producer entity in the English-speaking Caribbean. So I won't go into the details as to how we got here. I would just say that when I demitted office as chair of the CLA, all of the regulations and subsequent licenses that have been issued in the categories they have were developed and ready for implementation. That is from February 2016. I demitted in May 2016. At the time, we had an overall philosophy, guiding principles, and a vision for what we wanted the industry to be. I gave you a sneak peek of what that was earlier on. That vision has not yet been fulfilled. The idea was to have a targeted focus on products that could be used for medicinal purpose or enjoyed otherwise for sacramental purposes, or later on when we get there, freely for use for recreational purposes, if we ever get there. But by persons wishing to have treatment locally, to be treated by elders, healers, traditional herbalists in the communities in which these people are located, spread across the country. The idea then was to have industry develop from Orange Hill to the former Coptic lands in St. Thomas, 9 miles, wherever in the country there had been a traditional practice of growing use and and sale, commercial activity in the herb. The idea was to allow these communities to participate and develop formally. Somehow we have lost focus on this, and everything seems to be about growing for extraction of CDB and other components in the form of oil for export. In other words, like our coffee, cocoa, ackee, ginger, music, tourism, and everything else, we in Jamaica are seeking to commoditize a rare and precious gem of a gift that we have been given. We need to stop and take stock and change course. This is the only way that we are going to see a development of the industry in the manner that will benefit most of the persons that created the opportunity. This can only come with a vision of what we want. And with that vision, we have to have a strategic direction supported by an implementation plan to get us to where we need to. I say this publicly because I'm really concerned, having been involved in the development of several other subsectors in several countries around the region. I would hate to see us make the same mistake that countries and governments have made ad nauseum. We need therefore to take the opportunity to create the building blocks that can make the benefits that we wish to happen. Therefore, we need to be able to do the following. We must be able to characterize what we have, not just have airy-fairy talk about a seed bank and fingerprinting and all of these things without asking the question, who is going to do it? Have they done it before? Do they have the technical capabilities to do it? And if not, how are we going to get those? How are we going to train the persons? Who are we going to partner with that we can trust, that will work for our benefit? Do we have accredited labs? We need them. We need proper labeling, proper traceability, proper inspection and approval, empowerment of the authorities, cooperation between the various players, Ministry of Health, the CLA, the Bureau of Standards, and others. We need to focus on the indigenous varieties. To think about geographical indications for not just specific varieties, but for Jamaican ganja as a whole. We need to therefore have proper intellectual property protection. You will hear about genetics and breeding, all kinds of things that make any advantages that we had redundant. That will only apply if you're trying to sell a commodity. If you're not selling a commodity, they could breed ganja with 100% THC. If you want to get high, use it. But if you want the benefits, the treatment, and other properties that we have in our indigenous herb, it won't matter. We therefore need to have a specific plan as to how we are going to develop what it is we have. We want to encourage the use of the various cultivars that we have in their natural idle state that give users, for whatever purpose, the unique experience and benefits, whether for recreation or as a sacrament or for treatment, as it does now. So some of the important considerations, just to summarize, is the ability to characterize and differentiate between varieties and to document this scientifically. We need the analytical support that will be recognized internationally. We need to be able to characterize by DNA, physicochemical, and phenotypical fingerprinting the specific varieties, land races, strains that we have. And we need authentic, verifiable, and internationally acceptable clinical or use trials. Without those, a lot of what you're hearing is just talk. Critically, we also need to be able to properly regulate the industry in a manner intended so that users, investors, local and overseas, and other persons involved can have confidence in the product that is being offered. In summary then, despite the rapidly changing and increasingly crowded environment in the international cannabis sector, there remains significant opportunity for authentic Jamaican ganja, ganja products and derivatives in the international marketplace. These include products exported to the international market as well as those used locally in Jamaica. While exports are and should be exploited as an opportunity, tremendous as it may be, my personal belief and the philosophy we had at the CLA at the time was that the main and most beneficial route to equitable development of the industry is one that is focused on the medicinal, therapeutic, sacramental, and possibly eventually recreational use of the herb right here in Jamaica. This should be structured and developed in a manner that is community, area, strain, and practitioner specific. I'd be happy to discuss this more in the question and answer period. But if we are able to develop an industry that gives each area that has developed traditional recognition for what they offer, the opportunity for youth, practitioners, everybody in that area to help grow the industry, that is when we start to see real empowerment and economic development. To make use of this opportunity, however, we'll need to step back and look at what we're doing and make the changes necessarily to really develop an indigenous, high-value, multifaceted, Jamaican-owned and managed world-class ganja industry. What the future holds will depend on what we do. If we fail, we will have no one else to blame but ourselves. So failure is not an option. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Andre Gordon. You've heard it. Not what we thought we were designing is what we seem to have right now. Suggestions that a strong indigenous industry targeting local needs and helping to develop the local capacity would have been a route towards even an export market. Much food for thought. We are familiar with the conversation that Dr. Gordon is having. It's one that we've heard in other quarters. Are there questions for him specifically?
It seems like you're going to be awfully dependent on outcomes research, proving a clinical benefit. Yes? That means that you're going to have to incorporate the... Okay. Hi, how you doing? I'm a clinician from Chicago, and it seems that you're going to be awfully dependent on outcomes research. You're going to have to prove a clinical benefit. And towards such, what inroads have you made in roping in the traditional medical establishment? Because your native healers don't necessarily report. And you're going to need that data in order to prove your case down the line. So that means you're going to need allopathic support for bringing in integrative practices and strategies for your own population, and then report that and see the differences. Am I making myself clear?
So, development of this sector has, my opinion, has to be multifaceted. And so, if you want to claim, as you know, as a physician, specific clinical benefits, that is a much higher level of proof that's required than if you're offering therapy without making claims. And so there are different levels within the space that can be accessed. And we need to be careful that we don't tell our traditional healers who have been doing this before we started talking that you need to be able to prove this, to be able to offer it. And so what was envisaged is everything from those persons who want to sell a product claiming a specific clinical benefit to somebody in a community who just says, come, I'll give you a bath, a massage, and these are what the benefits are. So it's caveat emptor. The user can go and determine for themselves whether they get the benefit that's offered. But hopefully again, when Ellen comes to speak, she's much better suited than I to speak about the clinical trials and what would be required. But you're absolutely right. One of the challenges, I hear people making claims and studies are being done and all kind of wonderful things are going to happen. But as somebody involved in product development for many years, you're going to bring a drug to market that you're going to market, certainly in the US, it's going to cost at least tens of millions of US dollars. I hear no. Okay. Well, I'm happy to have the discussion.
Sure. Because we're already doing it.
Okay.
We're already doing it. We're doing it under the table.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
yeah.
I can only speak about what I know about above the table.
Yeah, okay.
Under the table has certain connotations here
I
in
know about
Jamaica
under the
that I don't want to go down that road. No, but I understand what you're saying. And it's a discussion we need to have, because if you play by the rules weren't designed to let us in. I'll just leave it that way.
All right, any more? Okay. Is there another mic that we could have to circulate?
Hi. Do you think it would be a good idea for Jamaica, being a small country, to tap into small countries, maybe also within the Commonwealth? Thank you.
You know, when we started this process, one of the first things we did was we got a set of consultants in. I don't know if those of you remember the furor over us having consultants from overseas coming to look at the industry, and why didn't we use people locally who've been in the industry for a while. My background as a scientist, I collaborate with colleagues, most of whom are external to Jamaica, because for what I need, most of the people domestically don't have the network, they don't have the equipment, they don't have the experience. If we're going to develop this industry, ma'am, we will have to collaborate. We will have to partner, unless we want to take decades to do what can be done in a short while. We just need to seek these out with people who have like mind, who respect our history and what we're trying to do, and are also working to the same ends. And there are many people like that, many countries out there in the world. So absolutely we need to partner and not try to reinvent the wheel.
Just following up on that, is there anything happening regionally that you are encouraged by?
Well, you see, he asked that question already knowing the answer. The Rastafari community regionally is an example of what we need to do, because I can tell you for certain that Rastafarian community in St. Vincent, in St. Kitts, most recently in Antigua, in Trinidad, in Guyana, have been reaching out to persons who are involved in this process, largely from Jamaica and elsewhere, to try to see how they can advance what they want to happen in their countries. Unfortunately, outside of that community, I can't speak too much to that happening. What I can tell you, which is of perhaps as some concern as we were speaking about, all of these countries are looking to how they can locate themselves within what is happening globally. I have the privilege of advising the government of St. Kitts and have been in discussion with the minister in St. Vincent. But I do have a concern that there Many of these countries are being advised by persons who have an ulterior motive. Persons who want to set up business in these countries for whatever reasons. There's nothing wrong with that, but the advice to the government is not necessarily what will benefit the persons and the industry in the long run. I don't know if you want to comment, Jalan, as I know you have some experience in this as well.
No, man, you're the expert on this. We give thanks. I want to ask you to give Dr. Andre Gordon a round of applause.